The responsibility to protect, or R2P, is a significant political commitment endorsed by all United Nations heads of state and government in 2005. This doctrine aims to prevent and halt atrocities such as genocide, war crimes, ethnic cleansing, and crimes against humanity. R2P represents a shift in international norms, suggesting that sovereignty is not merely a right, but a responsibility. It posits that when a state is unable or unwilling to protect its population, the international community has a moral obligation to intervene. This commitment is structured with specific guidelines and protocols to ensure it is actionable. The UN has provided a platform for dialogue and implementation of R2P. The introduction of R2P was motivated by past failures of the international community to prevent horrific events. The 1990s saw humanitarian disasters that highlighted the limitations of traditional state sovereignty. R2P was envisioned as a mechanism to bridge the divide between national interests and human rights. This essay will delve into the nuances of R2P, examining its origins, implementation, and potential future in addressing global human security threats. The emergence of R2P can be traced back to the failures of the international community in the 1990s, notably in Rwanda and the Balkans. These tragic events exposed significant weaknesses in the global security architecture. In Rwanda, the 1994 genocide resulted in the deaths of an estimated 800,000 people, while the international community stood by. Similarly, the atrocities committed in Srebrenica in 1995 underscored the dire consequences of international inaction. These events served as a wake-up call for world leaders and policymakers. The International Commission on Intervention and State Sovereignty, ICIS, was established in 2001. The Commission's report laid the groundwork for what would eventually become the R2P doctrine. It proposed that the international community has a responsibility to prevent crises through early intervention and capacity building. The endorsement of R2P by the UN in 2005 represented a consensus among world leaders. Despite its promising start, the real challenge has been translating this political commitment into effective action on the ground. R2P is structured around three core pillars to ensure comprehensive protection for populations at risk of mass atrocities. The first pillar emphasizes the primary responsibility of the state to protect its population. The second pillar involves international assistance and capacity building. The international community is called upon to support nations in strengthening their protective measures. This support can take various forms, including financial aid and technical assistance. The third pillar is the international community's responsibility to take timely and decisive action when a state fails to protect its population. This action can range from diplomatic measures to military intervention as a last resort under the UN Security Council. Each pillar of R2P is interdependent, designed to reinforce the others. However, the implementation of these pillars has been inconsistent, leading to debates about the effectiveness of R2P. Critics argue that the emphasis on military intervention has overshadowed the crucial aspects of prevention and rebuilding. The application of R2P in Kenya during the 2007 to 2008 post-election violence is often cited as a success story. The crisis prompted swift action from the international community. Through diplomatic pressure and mediation efforts led by former UN Secretary-General Kofi Annan, a power-sharing agreement was reached. This intervention highlighted the potential of R2P to mobilize timely and effective responses to emerging crises. In contrast, the intervention in Libya in 2011 remains one of the most controversial applications of R2P. Initially, the international community's response was hailed as a decisive action to protect civilians under threat from the Gaddafi regime. However, as the mission evolved into regime change, criticism mounted over the perceived overreach of the mandate. The divergent outcomes in Kenya and Libya underscore the complexities of applying R2P. These case studies illustrate the dual nature of R2P's legacy, its capacity for positive impact, and the pitfalls of misapplication. The ongoing conflict in Syria represents one of the most significant failures of R2P. Since the civil war erupted in 2011, the international community has struggled to respond effectively to the crisis. Despite widespread recognition of the atrocities occurring in Syria, geopolitical tensions have led to a paralysis in international action. One of the primary obstacles to effective intervention in Syria has been the use of the veto by permanent members of the UN Security Council. Russia and China have repeatedly blocked resolutions aimed at addressing the conflict. This has highlighted the limitations of R2P when confronted with entrenched political interests. The situation in Syria has also underscored the challenges of humanitarian intervention in a highly volatile environment. The lack of a cohesive strategy among the international community has further exacerbated the crisis. Syria's failure is a stark reminder of the limitations of R2P in the face of realpolitik and the need for reform. Despite its noble intentions, R2P has faced considerable criticism and challenges in its implementation. One primary critique is its association with humanitarian intervention, which some argue lacks a solid legal foundation. This perception has led to skepticism and resistance from some states wary of external interference. The concept of norm stagnation has also been identified as a significant obstacle to the effectiveness of R2P. The overemphasis on the reactive component of R2P, particularly military intervention, has contributed to this stagnation. Critics argue that this imbalance has diminished the doctrine's credibility. Another challenge lies in the lack of political will and resources to implement R2P effectively. The reliance on consensus within the UN Security Council means that political disagreements can easily derail efforts to intervene in crises. Additionally, the complexity of modern conflicts, often involving non-state actors, has further complicated the application of R2P. These critiques highlight the need for a reassessment of R2P's framework to address its shortcomings. Reconstructing R2P for the future requires a return to its original, broader scope, emphasizing prevention, capacity building, and rebuilding. Preventing atrocities is often more effective and less costly than intervening after they have occurred. By investing in early warning systems and diplomatic engagement, the international community can address the root causes of conflicts. Capacity building empowers states to fulfill their responsibilities to protect their populations. This involves providing technical assistance, training, and resources to strengthen national institutions. Rebuilding efforts are equally important in the aftermath of conflicts, as they lay the foundation for lasting peace and stability. This includes supporting post-conflict reconciliation and development initiatives. For R2P to remain viable, it must adapt to the evolving nature of global threats. By embracing a more holistic approach, the international community can revitalize R2P and ensure it continues to protect vulnerable populations. In today's interconnected world, the scope of threats to human security has expanded beyond traditional conflicts to include challenges such as climate change, pandemics, and cyber threats. By integrating these contemporary threats into its framework, R2P can remain relevant and effective. Climate change poses significant risks to vulnerable populations, exacerbating existing conflicts. By addressing the environmental dimensions of human security, R2P can play a crucial role in mitigating climate-induced crises. The COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the importance of including health security within the R2P framework. Pandemics can destabilize societies and strain health systems, making them a critical concern for global security. By prioritizing health security and strengthening international health governance, the international community can enhance its capacity to prevent future pandemics. Cyber threats represent another emerging challenge that requires attention within the R2P framework. By developing robust cybersecurity measures, R2P can address the digital dimensions of human security and protect populations from these emerging threats. The responsibility to protect remains a vital tool for preventing mass atrocities and safeguarding human security. However, its future depends on a renewed commitment to its principles and a willingness to address the challenges of its implementation. Continuous advocacy and a broader application of R2P principles are essential for its revival. To ensure R2P's relevance, the international community must embrace a holistic approach that prioritizes prevention, capacity building, and rebuilding. By integrating emerging challenges such as climate change, pandemics, and cyber threats, R2P can adapt to the evolving nature of global security. The potential for a new generation to engage with R2P presents both challenges and opportunities. As global awareness of human security issues grows, there is an opportunity to revitalize R2P. By engaging a diverse range of stakeholders, the international community can build a more inclusive framework for addressing global challenges. Ultimately, the future of R2P depends on the collective will of the international community to uphold its principles and take decisive action to protect populations from mass atrocities.